Hi, it's Amanda. Welcome to my channel. We've asked my mother to join us for the next video in mine and Christina's social commentary series. This is my mother's book, White Chocolate. She finished writing it in the 90s, and it is a satire on the Black upper middle class in the suburbs of a mostly Jewish neighborhood. Opportunities abound in this novel where social commentary is concerned, but today she'll be reading snippets from one of the chapters in the book, and that will be the topic of today's discussion. The passages reference her main character's daughter, Germaine, who for context is mixed race with both Black and East Indian.
The chapter is called A Woman Today. Germaine slowly opened her eyes. Chiaroscuro light seeped between her eyelashes. She touched her hair and giggled. Today she was a woman, and her weird curly hair was finally straight. She leapt out of bed and hurried to her closet. Soon she'd be in Angloville with a closet almost as big as this bedroom. She pulled out the outfit she was going to wear that day. It was fierce. She rushed to the mirror and removed the silk scarf and long clips that held her hair wrapped around her head. Then she combed out the glossy brown hair that cascaded to just below her shoulders. Yes, yes, she crowed and leapt into the air. She watched with pure pleasure as the hair rose and fell gracefully. Just then the phone rang. Hello? Granny? Yes, I'm 13 today. It feels great. Guess what? Yesterday, Mom let me get my hair straightened. I sent you a little something in the mail. Did you get it yet? No, Granny. Well, put it in your bank account when you get it. You hear me, child? Yes, Granny, and thank you, said Germaine with a smile in her voice. Now, what is this foolishness you're telling me about putting chemicals in your hair? Your mother should know better. You don't need that. You have nice hair like your father and me. You're not black like her. But, Granny, my hair's not straight. I needed a mild straightener. You're not black. You don't need it. That Tiger Woods person is Black American, and he's not admitting to it, so why should you pretend to be something you're not? Calls himself a Cablinasian or some foolishness so. Cablinasian? What's that? I don't know. Some nonsense he made up. But back to you. You have Caribbean heritage and mixed blood race on your daddy's side. You're not black and you don't need a straightener. You have good hair.
In our family, has there ever been conversation like that, describing black hair as bad and mixed hair as good?
It's always been understood that you and Jasmine have easier hair, that you had soft hair, that when we talked about needs to get straightened, that we'd always said that you and Jasmine don't need to straighten your hair, but it does make your hair easier, whereas we always said that I have coarse, thick hair that's difficult to deal with, but it was never I have black hair, I have bad hair that we need to fix. There was never a value assigned to hair type in the house.
It's wonderful to hear her say that because I specifically set out to make sure that this would be what my daughters experienced. We were black and that was it. There were no distinctions. There was no light skin, dark skin. I come from the Caribbean where we run the gamut with shades of skin color and types of hair. And I wanted everyone to feel empowered as if they were beautiful.
Growing up, I always wanted to have straight hair because it was what the people that I went to school with had.
I did want to have long straightened hair, but I think more in terms of thinking like Nia Long and Love Jones, where it's like kind of down to here, and it did swing, but the movement was in line with having thick hair that was relaxed and then well taken care of.
Yeah. As a child, I might have been intimidated by my mother's hair. My mother had gorgeous hair. It was down to her waist and it was long and wavy. So if I ever wanted to have hair like anyone, I wanted to have hair like my mom. The new Germaine created a sensation. Everyone stared when she entered the classroom. Germaine blushed, preened, and dropped her books. 4 boys jumped to their feet and raced to pick them up. 2 of them crashed into each other, and the classroom exploded into laughter despite the teacher's demands for silence. Books restored to her, Germaine strolled triumphantly to her seat. Had the pants been a tad tighter, she could have started a riot. She sat, tossed her hair behind her, and looked expectantly around the classroom. This was going to be a good day. Germaine kept her neck in motion as much as possible, and the newly straightened hair whipped about her face as she scurried down the corridors with her white girlfriends. They all spun their heads, agitating their hair like prairie grass in the wind. They laughed animatedly and gestured often, displaying slim wrists that bore the mandatory Tiffany bracelets. Germaine always gave her hair an extra toss for good measure. She was now truly a part of it all.
Did you ever envy people with straight hair growing up?
I mean, definitely. Quality of life improved significantly in having hair that didn't require any work. One thing I always wished that I could do was, be in public and just kind of pick my hair up and throw it into a bun, and then when I was done, just let it out. And it's, with black hair, like you have to go into the bathroom and take a strong bristle brush and comb it back and pull the parts on, and then get some
your
gel,
yeah.
and then lay the edges and go to the back and make sure it was there, and then wipe the hair off that fell out in the process. So I think
and you also mentioned in the last video that your friends would always come over and just jump in the pool. Yeah, Fridays you could never do that.
That was a huge thing, and there was.
Especially if you got your hair straight.
I would, and period. Like I also frequently tried to do that too. Like I would jump in the pool and I would get out, and nobody would be putting cream in their hair and like that. And I would say, let me do it too. And then an hour later, when I looked like Don King, like I remember, oh, okay, no, that's not something that I can do. I always wanted to have long, thick, curly hair, long, curly, like Jernee Smollett, like her, like that kind from East Bayou.
Oh, okay, okay, the young girl.
Yeah.
Okay, you're now an adult, and do you still want that?
No, I want a big afro. Last video, we had a whole conversation about you saying, okay, but then that still requires that I'm going to have to moisturize. And I'm fully aware that it's very possible that in the next 3 months, I'm going to have to shave everything off because it's going to be very dry and because it's going to be very uneven. And granted, with the pandemic, I can't go to the barber. So I don't think that I don't know how you can do
with all this time on your hand, you could deep condition.
I don't want to.
I know you don't.
Mama, did you ever want to have straight hair?
Yeah. Because I grew up in Barbados, and I spent a lot of time at the beach, and it was just annoying to go into the sea and come out and my hair was dry and terrible. One of the highlights of my life was when I got my first relaxer, and I was able to go to the beach with my brothers and my friends, and I went in the sea and I came out and I shook my head. I had one of those blood up.
You can't go into the water with a relaxer in your hair.
Yes, you can. In those days, maybe they used stronger things, but I had a blunt cut, and it was wonderful, a China doll cut, and I came out of the water and I just ran my hands with my fingers.
And that didn't end badly?
No, it ended very well. I thought I was gorgeous, and I was a teenager as far as I was concerned.
No, I know. I'm just surprised because their whole thing is like if you get. I guess it's because once you get your hair relaxed, you have to keep it away from water because it freezes your roots. If you expose it to,
but I think also
about America.
But it's not a matter of you can get out of the water and look fine. It's how you look in 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, I was a teenager. I was vain. My hair was naturally straight. I went into the water. I came
straight.
It was straight. Okay, it was straight with a relaxer. Not like when I had. Okay, before when my hair was pressed, I could not go into the water.
I don't know what your hair looks like.
Amanda doesn't know about hot combs. I think that's what she's not understanding.
Okay,
so you used to get your hot comb.
Before that, Amanda, I used to have my hair pressed with a hot comb.
So you don't know what your natural hair looks like either.
Yes, I do, because when you wash
she had an afro.
When you wash, I had all kinds of incarnations. But before, as I said, before I got my relaxer, my hair had been pressed, and then to get a relaxer in those days, you had to stop pressing your hair for 6 months. That's what the hairdresser said.
I guess because it didn't fall out.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but so my hair was like, it was long, it was thick. So I got my relaxer, and then I was able to go to the beach with this relaxer, and I went in the water, I dove into the waves, and I came out, and it was like the girl in the what is that movie where she comes out with a bikini and she's got the hair just streaming with the water streaming down her back. I was 15 and I figured it was nothing like me, so I felt great. So I have no idea how I look for the rest of the world. As far as I was concerned, this was nirvana.
But for you, it wasn't a white hair thing. It was
just
a
white hair. It was
just
me. Yes. It was just me with my wonderful black hair coming out. Remember, I had a mother who had gorgeous hair. Mm-hmm. I lived in Barbados, like 96% black, and we had Indian. So my ideal was not white. My universe was black people, and my standard beauty was my mother.
A huge reason why I wanted to have straight hair for a period of time was also because I felt like I couldn't date because I had curly hair, because I had coarse hair, because it felt like this secret that boys didn't know about. For one weekend a month, I would have to disappear to be at the hairdresser, and he wouldn't know what I look like in real life. So it was like this mask, whereas I envied the fact that, like, with my white friends, that, you know, their boyfriends knew what they looked like all the time. There was no secret identity. You know.
Going outside with a relaxer in your hair and a cap on your head to go get food from the place next door. I do remember all of us going in our capes, and not the relaxer in the hair, because that would burn, but we would go in our shower caps, our black capes, and we would walk across the street, we would get food. And it was just one of those things where, like, whether or not you were embarrassed, you really had no choice, because you're at the hairdresser for about 7 hours when it's 3-4 people going to the hairdresser at the same time in the same family.
Yep.
We would literally spend an entire day at the hairdresser, so we had to eat.
Yeah, plus they put you in the window. They all had huge windows. They'd put you right there, and you would sit there thinking, oh God, I hope none of my classmates happens to walk by here and recognize me and, hey, you know, and then you had, you know, it's just,
yeah. Because as it is now, the hair washing process is an ugly process. I mean, you've seen my wash day videos.
Yeah, Amanda actually, she picked me up. I was walking to my mom's house a couple of weeks ago, and she was doing a wash day where she had two big things up on the side of her head,
so
and two separate what to say, garbage bags, what are they called? Shower caps. And I was walking and I saw this car turn around. It looked like her car, and all I saw was a shadow with these things, and I was like, oh, nobody else looks like that. And it was Amanda. I didn't even have to see her face.
So as you're reading that chapter, though, I actually really do identify with this, because yes, I really wanted straight hair when I was growing, but it wasn't even straight. It wasn't straight hair. It was manageable hair, because I remember there were a lot of people in my class that had really long curly hair, but it was one of those things where it wasn't long, curly, and coarse and immobile. It was, you know, still swinging. Like, you shake your head and the hair shakes with your head. The day after I got my relaxer, I would go to school the next day with such confidence, and I would do those little, like, I would just walk around like, just like very slightly twitching my hair so I could feel my hair, you know, brushing against my back. And it was just, it was such a great experience. And I know I asked you about, you know, embracing what you have now and all of that. I really love my relaxed hair. It's just that, again, it's a personal growth thing. I actually really like my hair now. And because it's a challenge, I like challenges. And this is currently, I don't want to say it's my obsession, because that suggests it's a phase, but I put so much time into it, and I feel like I'm getting something out of it, and I don't even know, like, where I could take it. So right now it's just a matter of how long can I grow it, how healthy can I keep it, and I think it looks nice. Did I envy it? Yes. Although when I look in a magazine now and I see someone with really, like Jennifer Aniston, I've always loved Jennifer Aniston's hair, I'm no longer jealous of her. So I'm really glad to have made that, you know, transition.
Last we saw, Jermaine was having a really great day. She was excited for how things were going to pan out. So in the interest of time, we're not going to read what happens in between. But essentially, she runs up against racism from both the white students and the black students. A lot of black students are offended by the fact that she's swinging her head and acting, quote unquote, white with her hair. And one of the white students looks like he's interested in her, but then says he doesn't have jungle fever. So she's in a place where she doesn't feel connected to either world. And then after a process of events, some kids spit in her hair and she gets gum in her hair. And so this then leads to this dramatic ending.
She's stuck in the middle. She's what my book is about, white chocolate, neither fish, fowl, or good red herring. So when Charlie and Lenny returned home, Jermaine was still in her room. They knocked softly on her door and entered, laden with gaily wrapped birthday gifts. Jermaine, what's wrong, honey? Are you tired? Wake up, birthday girl. We've got presents for you, said Charlie. Happy birthday to you, sang Lenny in a pleasant baritone as Charlie snapped on the light and they approached the bed where their daughter lay. What? Charlie stopped in her tracks and dropped the presents. Hunks of her daughter's beautiful, long, shiny hair lay on the bed, on the floor, on the bedside table. A cropped head like that of a badly plucked fowl rose up from the bedclothes. Red, tear-swollen eyes seared them before the child threw herself back down on the bed and cried with great juddering sobs. Her body shook in paroxysms of sorrow as she burrowed into the pillows and moaned, "I don't want to be black. I don't want to be black."
Has there ever been a time when you felt you didn't want to be black because of your hair? What was behind it and what helped you get past it?
I mean, a significant part of growing up was that feeling because, like Amanda mentioned, we grew up in a Jewish neighborhood and we didn't have any kind of community. And so while like I know this is veering outside of the hair issue, but obviously hair doesn't stand alone in the ways that you feel alienated. So every day, or I guess a couple times a week, our friends would go to Hebrew school and we wouldn't be with them, and then we would meet up with them afterwards. And then our other friends were in its other area where there were a lot of kids that are our age, and they went to Catholic school where we wouldn't be there either. And so people kind of had these communities, and then the hair just felt like something that further alienated. The one community we had was when we would go to the hairdresser and look horrendous and have to hide and have this big secret that we couldn't tell anybody. And like I mentioned, like in terms of feeling like I couldn't date because I didn't want anybody to ever see my hair at different areas, at different spaces of time. I mean, why would someone find my hair attractive? There was no evidence to make me feel like that would be the case. And then even in the media, there weren't a lot of instances of interracial dating. So it kind of like, there was a feeling like I was intrinsically ugly, and that, you know, I could never look as nice as my white friends. And this was for a long time. I mean, I got past that, I think, just as I got older. And I mean, I don't know if I think before I had my first boyfriend, I had reached that point, but I think, oh no, the Halle Berry haircut, I think that was,
You did look really, that was a really nice haircut.
Once I got the Halle Berry haircut, people used to stop me on the street to ask me where I get my haircut, or where, if I was wearing a wig, or because it was nice. I don't think it's because it was, you know.
I didn't realize I was in high school. No, I never felt uncomfortable about being black. I always felt uncomfortable about having coarse textured hair. Also, I'm coming from a different perspective. Christina has always been very popular. She always had tons of friends around her. She always had that confidence because all of her friends loved her, and you know, she had that community. I didn't really have any friends growing up, so because of that, you already feel alienated, and then you're further alienated because of your hair.
I realized that an issue, I think, thinking about my hair also, because I have thick, coarse, dark hair, when my mustache would grow in, it would stand out, and I grow hair on my cheeks. She gets a powerful mustache. But because of that, like I have marks on my cheeks from my hair, and also on my legs, the follicles. Like even when I shave my legs, you can still see the follicles. And so
because you're talking about coarse hair. So
because I have coarse hair. Yeah. So I think that's also the reason why for me I was like, I don't want to say I don't want to be black, because I don't know that, maybe I don't think
it was ever race. I think it was hair. I don't think it was hair.
Yeah, because you don't see the hair on your legs. Even when hair is on your legs, you can't see it.
Do you remember?
Because it's all hair type. It's not, hair is not just on your head. I mean, it's a whole body thing. So I think in terms of feeling like if your hair separates you from other people, it's you know, hair. Yeah, even my leg hair. Like I would.
My leg hair has always been very fine.
Yeah, Christina, when you were a teenager, you really surprised me. You told me you had this nightmare that you were on a desert island and you didn't have a relaxer.
She talked about that in the last video.
Yeah, right.
Because I talked about it all the time.
And she didn't have tweezers.
Yeah, and she didn't have tweezers, and she didn't have relaxer. Mm-hmm. And that was the worst thing that could happen to her as a teenager, and I just thought it was hilarious.
I guess you grew up in a community where you said like 96% of the population was black, so I assume you never had that. You never had that struggle.
No, and I always had a great deal of self-confidence. People tell me to tamp it down, so I always felt very good about myself.
Okay.
It is more difficult raising black children in America, and that is why I was such a helicopter mom, and I tried to make sure that I monitored everything that you girls were exposed to, and I made sure to say the right things, and I gave you lots of black dolls, and I made sure to buy all the positive black books that were out there. I taught you black history, and I really pushed the whole thing about black being beautiful.
The funny thing is that the black Barbies always have long straight hair.
Yeah, that's true. They always have.
I used to write.
That's not the case anymore.
Yeah, okay.
Now they have dolls with coarse hair.
Yeah, but I did the best I could with what I had.
How did you approach our hair when we were growing up? Because I don't even remember getting my first relaxer. I don't know what the context was around it. How old was, I guess you have 3 children. How old were we when you started relaxing our hair, and what was the
I would say you were middle school, because I
middle
figured
school. I thought it was a lot earlier.
Because I figured when you were children you shouldn't be bothered with that.
But you always had an intention that we would.
Yeah,
relax it. Is it because manageability or?
It was because it was just like a rite of passage. Because when I was a child,
you said you couldn't fix
I couldn't fix your hair, so I used to just wrap. When you were a baby, you always.
So for her, you gave her a relaxer.
Yeah,
for me, it wasn't manageability. No, it was because it was something that you did.
Yeah, you wanted to have your hair relaxed.
So I wanted to have my hair relaxed.
Yeah, because even as a teenager, I was in Barbados. I was not allowed to get a relaxer until I was old enough. I don't know
But
what
they put
my
a
mother
hot comb
thought.
to your head every week?
Yeah, they for some
That's what
reason
she did
thought
to
that
me.
having a
Really?
Yeah.
that's what
Oh, yeah, you did mention
that's what people did.
You never did that with me, I assume.
No, you didn't.
I don't think my
either,
hair was
'cause you had
coarse enough
hair-
for that.
Your
It
hair
wasn't
was
thick enough.
you and Jasmine had very light hair. What we call light hair. It was
Light hair.
It
Soft
wasn't-
hair.
Soft.
it was softer hair.
finer.
Fine. Yeah, it was finer. I don't know what the
Hair's not-
technical
it would be
terms
fine.
are that you.
But my hair's not
that you
even
have
fine
now.
anymore. It's actually pretty coarse.
Yeah,
Um,
but
Yeah,
in
you had
those
completely
days-
different hair. When you
In those days, it wasn't.
So, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that it was more difficult for you girls growing up in America than it was for me, because looking at the women of the diaspora, people in the Caribbean probably had an easier time because the majority race was not white. We were the majority. So although there were standards of beauty that were set by the dominant society, because we had stuff coming in from England and Canada and America, you looked around you and you saw beautiful black people. While
Were you exposed to the European standard of beauty in the Caribbean growing
Yeah,
up?
because I read.
You were,
magazines.
but you also had it counteracted by a black standard.
Because I read magazines and newspapers just like everyone else. I read Time magazine every week when I was a teenager. But
Time magazine
there's a
isn't
lot
really-
because and I got
More
that
like Glamour.
I got that there was a magazine called Ingenue. And that was for teenagers, and I read 17 magazine. I read
Okay.
all of these things, and I'm sure I wanted to look like some of those girls. But I looked around me, and I saw beautiful black people. I wanted you to feel totally empowered and beautiful.
And we felt that.
Yeah,
And we felt that message from you.
Yeah, and that
Whether or
was-
not, I mean, you're still going to have the struggles that we had because of the way that we grew up in the neighborhood that we grew up. I don't think there's any way to avoid. So thank you for watching. If you are interested in this book, I will have it linked in the description box below. I do think I'll be bringing up more content for future videos because there's just so much stuff to discuss in here. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like my content and haven't done so already, please subscribe, like, comment, and share, and I'll talk to you in my next one. Thanks, and have a good one.